Hello student, welcome to this lecture, that is data communication. In this data communication today we discuss the transmission mode. So what do you mean by this transmission mode? First of all we discuss about the transmission mode. So the transmission mode is nothing, it is the one type of the channel which the data is transferred from one place to the another place or one device to the another device. So the data is transferred through a particular channel from one place to the another place, so that contains some criteria which the data is transferred from one place to the another place. So in this transmission mode, first of all we discuss about the data transmission. So in the data transmission is the physical transfer of the data. So the physical transfer of the data means the data is transferred through the wired or wireless media, so that the data is transferred through the digital bit stream. So whatever the data is transferred from one place to the another, it has the stream of the bits, that is contained the 8 bit or the number of bits which can be transferred from one place to the another place. So in this, the data is transferred over a point to point or point to multi-point communication channel. Means the data is transferred from one node to the another node, or the data is transferred from one node to the multiple nodes. So this is called the data transmission, and this data is transferred through the communication channel, and that channel is such as, that is the copper wire or optical fiber or wireless communication channel. So through this channel the data is transferred from one place to the another place, and that data is the digital bit stream. Means it is the number of bits, that is 0 and 1. It is in the form of 0 and 1. Now the data transmission mode. The data transmission has some modes. According to that mode, the data is transferred from one place to the another place. So the data transmission has the two modes. One is parallel and second one is the serial. Further, the serial is divided into two parts, that is the synchronized and asynchronized. So these are the data transmission mode, in that the data is transferred parallelly or serially. And when we discuss about the serial transmission of the data, so in serial there is two parts, that is the synchronous and asynchronous. So we will look one by one. First we discuss about the parallel data transmission and then the serial data transmission. So the first one is the parallel transmission. In this parallel transmission, many bits are flow together simultaneously from one computer to the another computer. Means the number of bits which are transferred from one node to the another node simultaneously. Second thing is that the parallel transmission is faster than the serial transmission to transmit the bits, and parallel transmission is used for short distance. And in this parallel transmission, what happens in this parallel transmission? Whenever the device is closely, so that the data is simultaneously transferred from one place to the another place. In this we are taking the example, that is the data transmission between the computer and printer. So whatever the data is we want to print, that is transferred through that system, that is the computer, to the printer, and it transfer that data parallelly. Means at a time number of bits it can be transferred. Now this is the diagrammatic representation of parallel transmission. In this, one is the sender and another one is the receiver. So sender can send the data parallelly. At a time it can send the 8 bit, and the receiver it can receive at a time 8 bit. So depend on the processor, we can send in parallel transmission the number of bit parallelly. So parallelly, that in the parallel transmission, the devices which are situated in a short distance, and we can send this data parallelly, means at a time we can send here 8 bit. So nowadays the market is available. So this is the, if there is the 8 bit processor, then it can send 8 bit at a time to the source sender to the receiver. If it is the 16 bit processor, then it can send the 16 bit at a time. Nowadays we have the 32-bit processor or 62-bit processor. So in that, at a time it can send the 32-bit or 62-bit, 64-bit at a time from sender to the receiver. Means this sender and receiver which are situated in in very short. So both the devices are situated in the short distance. So with the help of this parallel transmission, we can transfer the data parallelly through the receiver. So this is the faster technique which can be data sent the fast manner. So the data is parallelly sent to source to the destination. So this is the diagrammatical representation. Now we discuss about the some advantages of the parallel transmission. So what are the advantages of the parallel transmission? Transmit data at a higher speed. Why this transmit that data at the higher speed? Because the data is transferred parallelly, means at a time we can send the 8 bit or 16 bit or 32 bit or 64 bit, depend on the processor. It can be transfer the data at a time. So this is the high speed data transmission. So better for the short distance communication. So again we already discussed this point, because of the short distance, so it is better for the communication. Now next one is this set of bits are transferred simultaneously, means at a time we can send the number of bits simultaneously. So this is the advantages of the parallel transmission. Now we discuss about the disadvantages of the parallel transmission. So what are the disadvantages? More number of wire required, yes, because we already know in a parallel transmission we send the data, number of data simultaneously. So number of the how many bits you are sent to the source to destination, that number of wire we require. There are multiple communication channel required. Yes, there is a multiple channel required because we are sending simultaneously data, and it is a costly transmission system. Why it is the costly? Because whatever the data you want to send, whatever the number of bits you want to send, that number of wire you require for sending data from source to destination. Now we discuss about the serial transmission. So in a serial transmission, the bits of bytes are serially transmitted one after another. Means one by one bit it is transmitted serially on the same wire. This is the serial transmission. So in this serial transmission, the data is transferred one after another with the help of that the same wire. In this same wire एक एक करके जो भी बीट है ये सब इस same wire से वो ट्रांसफर होगा. So in this serial transmission, one by one beat is transferred. All types of communication network use serial transmission, and the internal channel in the computers have switched from parallel to serial data transfer, because we are transferring the data one by one. So at the end device we require some converter. So ये converter कौन से हो सकते हैं? That converter is parallel to serial or serial to parallel converter. So now we discuss that what this serial transmission, how this serial transmission is transfer the data. So this is the diagrammatic representation of the serial transmission. So in this serial transmission we have the sender and the receiver. यहाँ हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे एक sender है and this is the receiver. So ये sender क्या करता है? Sender, whenever the sender want to send the data, first it convert that parallel to serial converter. जो भी data है ये parallel to serial converter के पास जाता है, and this parallel to serial converter, it convert this data one by one. This data is transferred one by one with the help of a single channel and single cable. एक single cable के through ये यहाँ से यहाँ तक डेटा ट्रांसफर होता है from source to destination, and whenever the destination data reach the destination, it again assemble all the data and it converts serial to parallel convert. It require the serial to parallel converter. इसको require होता है serial to parallel converter को, और इसको पैरेलल में कन्वर्ट करने के बाद ये रिसीवर को ट्रांसफर करता है, तो रिसीवर इसको प्रोसेस करता है. सो दिस इज द डायग्रामेटिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ द सीरियल ट्रांसमिशन. इस तरीके से सीरियल ट्रांसमिशन होता है. सो आफ्टर दैट वी डिस्कस द एडवांटेजेस ऑफ सीरियल ट्रांसमिशन. सो सीरियल ट्रांसमिशन का क्या एडवांटेजेस है? इट इज कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव. व्हाई दिस इज द कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव? क्योंकि हम लोगों ने पैरेलल ट्रांसमिशन में देखा था कि पैरेलल ट्रांसमिशन में जितने नंबर ऑफ बीट आपको ट्रांसफर करना है उतने नंबर ऑफ केबल आपको रिक्वायर होता था. बट हियर दैट सिचुएशन इज नॉट क्रिएटेड बिकॉज whatever the data you are transfer, that data is transferred through single cable. So this is the cost effective. It is appropriate for the long distance communication. It is the very important point because to day life whatever the data you are sending through that internet or a mobile, so ये long distance के लिए हम लोग जो भी data transfer करते हैं वो serially data transfer करते हैं, and at the end point we have the serial to parallel converter and parallel to serial converter जो data send करता है. Now the next one is the more reliable. This is the more reliable. Now some of the disadvantages of serial transmission. The data transmission is slow as compared to parallel transmission. यहाँ पे जो डेटा ट्रांसफर होता है ये स्लो होता है बिकॉज वन बीट यहाँ से ट्रांसफर होता है, एंड द थ्रूपुट रिलाइज on the beat rate. Whatever the data you are sent, the beat rate, whatever the data sending rate is depend on that the serial transmission. So it is throughput थोड़ा सा कम ज़्यादा हो सकता है लेकिन it is the best. That is the serial transmission which we are using. After that we discuss the that the serial transmission we already know that the serial transmission has the two types. First one is the synchronous data transmission and another one is the asynchronous data transmission. So first of all we discuss the synchronous data transmission. So what is the synchronous data transmission? इसमें हम लोग देखेंगे. In a synchronous event means event which happen at the same clock rate. We already know that the synchronous transmission is depend on the same clock rate. Whatever the clock rate is in the sender, or that same clock rate, with the help of that same clock rate receiver can receive the signals. मतलब कि जो क्लॉक रेट पे आपका सेंडर सेंड करेगा डेटा उसी क्लॉक रेट पे रिसीवर उसको रिसीव करेगा. Synchronous transmission is carried out under the कंट्रोल ऑफ अ कॉमन मास्टर क्लॉक. जो मास्टर क्लॉक कॉमन होता है उसके बेस पे इसको रिसीव करता है. अभी मैंने जैसे कि आपको बताया कि इसमें एक पर्टिकुलर क्लॉक पल्स पे ही जो डेटा जो सेंडर होता है वो डेटा सेंड करता है और रिसीवर उसको रिसीव करता है. हियर द बीट विच आर begin transmitted as synchronized to the same reference clock. सेम रेफरेंस क्लॉक के थ्रू वो डेटा सेंड होगा और उसी सेम रेफरेंस क्लॉक के थ्रू जो रिसीवर है उसको रिसीव करेगा. द स्ट्रीम ऑफ बीट्स इज कंबाइंड इनटू बिगर फ्रेम्स व्हिच मे कंप्राइज मोर देन वन बाइट. सो जो भी डेटा का स्ट्रीम होता है ये जनरली when the data is sent with the help of the synchronous transmission, the sender and the receiver. So sender send the beat. Suppose the sender send data serially 8 bit, so that is compared with the help of this the 1 byte. Each byte is transmitted with without gap between the next byte. So whatever the data is sent with the help of this synchronous transmission, so इसमें कोई गैप नहीं होता है कि डेटा आप जैसे हमने सेंड करना स्टार्ट किया तो एक फ्रेम सेंड होने के बाद में दूसरी फ्रेम सेंड होगी. No start and stop bit are used instant by inserted by bytes are transmitted as a block in the continuous stream of bit. So in this synchronous transmission we have not used any start and stop bit. कोई भी start और stop bit नहीं से यूज किया जाता है. ये कंटिन्यूसली फॉर्मेट में ये सेंड किया जाता है, कंटिन्यू फॉर्म में सेंड किया जाता है, स्ट्रीम के फॉर्मेट में ये सेंड किया जाता है. नेक्स्ट वन इज द receiver operate at the same clock frequency as that of the transmitter. जो ट्रांसमीटर की फ्रीक्वेंसी होंगी सेम वो रिसीवर की भी फ्रीक्वेंसी होंगी, सेम क्लॉक पल्स पे वो उसको ऑपरेट करता है. The data is sent in blocks. We already know in the serial communication we are using that. Then the serial communication the data is sent one by one, and in this that the data are sent in blocks. जो है वो ब्लॉक के फॉर्मेट में सेंड होता है. We can call these block as a frame or packets. ये फ्रेम और पैकेट्स हम इसको कहते हैं. स्पेस्ड बाय फिक्स टाइम इंटरवल. एक फिक्स टाइम इंटरवल के बेस पे ये डेटा सेंड किया जाता है. इट इज द ड्यूटी ऑफ रिसीवर टू सेपरेट द बीट सेंड इन ग्रुप्स. सो ये रिसीवर की ड्यूटी होती है कि वॉट एवर द डेटा इज सेंड बाय द सेंडर इट कैन बी सेपरेट आउट थ्रू आफ्टर द रिसीविंग. देयर इज एन इंटर ब्लॉक आइडियल टाइम which also is filled with ideal characters. So उसके अंदर में इंटर एक ब्लॉक होता है जिसमें एक आइडियल कैरेक्टर को फील्ड करके उसको सेंड किया जाता है. Now we discuss the diagram of the synchronous transmission. So in this synchronous transmission there is the sender and there is the receiver, and this is the direction of flow. Whatever the data is sent, that the sender is sent byte wise the data. So in this 8-bit data is sent serially, and this is the duty of that receiver to separate out that byte to that receiving end. So the position shown between the bytes are just the logical position. अब ये जो सेंडर यहाँ से जो डेटा सेंड करेगा, सो वो एक टाइप का एक बाइट बना के इसको सेंड करेगा. एक एक बाइट उसको जो डेटा है वो सेंड करेगा, दैट इज अ फ्रेम और पैकेट. आफ्टर द रिसीविंग दिस रिसीवर्स ड्यूटी कि वो जो स्टार्ट और एंड बीट क्या है वो उसको सेपरेट आउट करने का काम ये रिसीवर करता है. So this is the diagrammatical representation of synchronous transmission. After that, we discuss the advantages of synchronous transmission. The main advantages is speed. Because of there is no gap between the transmission data, the speed of this synchronous transmission is much higher than the asynchronous transmission. This is due to the absence of gap between the data unit and absence of start stop bits. मैंने जैसे कि अभी आप लोग को बताया कि ये यहाँ पे डेटा ट्रांसमिशन की स्पीड ज़्यादा रहती है. Why this speed is more? Because यहाँ पे कोई गैप नहीं रहता और स्टार्ट और स्टॉप बीट भी यहाँ पे प्रेजेंस नहीं रहते करके ये डेटा ज़्यादा स्पीड में ट्रांसफर होता है. टाइमिंग एरर are reduced due to the synchronization. Because of the synchronization यहाँ पे टाइमिंग एरर नहीं रहता क्योंकि सेम पल्स पे ये डेटा सेंड होता है. whatever the pulse clock pulse is this used by the sender, the same clock pulse is used by the receiver. Now the next one is the disadvantages of synchronous transmission. So synchronous transmission के disadvantages, the time is very important. Because of that we know that whatever the data is sent that depend on the master clock. So that's why this is the time is very important. The accuracy of the received data is dependent earlierly on the ability of the receiver to count the received bit accurately. This is the point, because whatever the data is sent, that sender, that is totally depend, is that countability is depend by the receivers who receive that data. The transmitter and receiver have to operate at the same clock frequency. This require proper synchronization, which make the system complicated, which make the system complicated. So we already know that it work with the same clock pulse, so it is the system is the more complicated because of the it work with the same clock frequency. Next one is the asynchronous data transmission. So asynchronous data transmission means it is called asynchronous because timing of the signal is not an issue. In this asynchronous transmission, there is no issue of the timing because this is the asynchronous data transmission. So यह synchronous transmission में timing का कोई पाबंदी नहीं रहती है. In this, the information can be sent and received as per manual agreement of the sender and receiver. इसमें कोई टाइम का बैन नहीं रहता है, and whatever the information is sent, that are manually agreement. manual agreement होता है sender और receiver के बीच में. Asynchronous transmission is at byte level only because transmission of bits is always synchronized. So यहाँ पे byte level में जो data है वो transmit होता है. Asynchronous transmission is easy by is easy by 2 bytes, namely start bit as a 0 and stop bit as a 1. So ये एक्चुअल में क्या होता है कि इस टाइप से ये 2 बिट असाइन करते हैं, जिसमें कि हम लोग देखते हैं कि असिंक्रोनस ट्रांसमिशन ये जनरली जब भी स्टार्ट बिट सेंड करता है तो उसको इंडिकेट करता है 0 से, और उसके बाद के जितने भी बिट रहेंगे वो डेटा रहेगा. एंड वेन एवर द इट वांट आफ्टर द कंप्लीशन ऑफ द डेटा, इट add the 1 at the end of that data, means it start with 0 and stop with 1. We send 0 bit to the start of the communication and 1 bit to the stop of the transmission. So asynchronous data transmission में इस तरीके से वो डिवाइड करते हैं कि क्या स्टार्ट बीट होता है और क्या स्टॉप बीट होता है. In this, there can be a time delay between communication of 2 bytes. Generally हमने synchronous transmission में देखा है there is a no time delay, but in asynchronous transmission there is a time delay because of the start and stop bits. इसमें क्या होता है कि जब भी हम डेटा सेंड करते हैं तो 2 फ्रेम या 2 पैकेट सेंड करते टाइम हम लोग एक टाइम डिले, थोड़ा सा गैप देते हैं 2 डेटा सेंड करने के. इसमें only 1 byte is sent at a time. After a gap of time, next byte is transmitted. So whenever you send the 1 byte, you give the gap, and after some time again you send the another byte. So with the help of this time gap, we can send data byte by byte, or we can send that data packet by packet or frame by frame. The transmitter and receiver may function at different clock frequency. Because of the asynchronous data transmission, there is no need of the clock frequency. That is the same clock frequency in synchronous. We already know in synchronous we require the same clock frequency, but here there is no need of the same clock frequency. So they are operating the different clock frequency. Asynchronous transmission is mostly used by the asynchronous modems. So whatever the modems we are used, that are the synchronous and asynchronous modems. So asynchronous transmission it is used in the asynchronous modems. So यहाँ पे जो communication use होता है ये asynchronous modem के लिए useful होता है. After that हम लोग देखते हैं कि asynchronous transmission कैसे यहाँ पे डील करता है. In this figure we have see that the sender and the receiver whatever the data is sent by the sender, that is sending the a bit, and the bit is that the 0 bit means it is the start bit, and 1 means it is the stop bit, and between that two data packet there is the gap of here. So this is the diagrammatical representation of asynchronous transmission. जनरली जब भी डेटा ट्रांसफर होता है, हम जब भी एक पैकेट सेंड करते हैं तो पैकेट को स्टार्टिंग में 0 होता है और एंडिंग में 1 होता है। ये स्टार्ट बिट 0 इंडिकेट करता है स्टार्ट बिट, और ये 1 इंडिकेट करता है स्टॉप बिट, और इसके बीच में जो भी डेटा ट्रांसफर होगा इनके बीच में गैप होता है। दैट्स व्हाई दिस इज द asynchronous transmission. There is no need of the clock frequency. So यहाँ पे रिसीवर को भी यहाँ पे सेपरेट आउट करने की जरूरत नहीं होती, कोई एक्स्ट्रा मैकेनिज्म यूज नहीं होता है। ये जनरली जब भी यहाँ पे डेटा पहुंचता है तो ये रिसीवर समझ जाता है कि 0 मीन्स इट इज द स्टार्ट एंड 1 मीन्स इट इज द स्टॉप, एंड इट इज अगेन सेंस द गैप। सो यहाँ पे जब भी गैप आता है, गैप में डेटा आएगा तो उसको समझ में आ जाता है कि एक पैकेट आ चुका है और ये दूसरा पैकेट आ रहा है, इस तरीके से ये डील करते हैं। सो दिस इज द डायग्रामेटिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ द asynchronous transmission. Now why it is called asynchronous? यहाँ पे जो क्वेश्चन दिया हुआ है कि why it is the asynchronous, उसको हम लोग अभी डिस्कस करेंगे। This mechanism is called asynchronous because at the byte level the sender and receiver do not have to be synchronized. जनरली ये दोनों सिंक्रोनाइज नहीं होते बिकॉज क्योंकि जब सेंडर होता है और जो रिसीवर होता है वहाँ कोई क्लॉक सीक्वेंस नहीं यूज होता है, कोई क्लॉक फ्रिक्वेंसी यूज नहीं होती है, और कोई मास्टर क्लॉक के थ्रू हम लोग ये डेटा सेंड एंड रिसीव नहीं करते हैं। हाउएवर विदिन ईच बाइट the receiver should still to be synchronized with the incoming beat stream. अब जनरली ये रिसीवर को पता चलता है whenever the receiver receives that beats, because of that gap and because of that start and end beat, it can know that whatever the data is sent is completed, that data is complete or incomplete. This means that some synchronization is required only for the duration of single byte. So single byte अगर इसको मिलना है तो ये इस तरीके से वहाँ पे जो गैप और स्टार्ट और स्टॉप बीट के थ्रू ये रिसीव करता है। So why it is called asynchronous? ये सब पैरामीटर्स के थ्रू हम लोग ये कहते हैं कि जो डेटा आ रहा है वो asynchronously वहाँ सेंडर से रिसीवर तक सेंड हो रहा है। Now the advantages of the asynchronous transmission. इसके कुछ advantages है। It is flexible data transmission mode. डेटा इसमें कोई क्लॉक की यूज नहीं होती है। Synchronization between the transmitter and receiver is not necessary. यहाँ पे कोई synchronization की जरूरत नहीं होती है। It is possible to transmit signal from the source having a different beat rate. अब उसमें सिंक्रोनाइजेशन जो सिंक्रोनाइज जो डेटा ट्रांसमिशन देखते थे तो वहां पे हमें क्लॉकवाइज जो डेटा है उसको कंटिन्यूस फॉर्मेट में वो सेंड करता था, बट हियर दैट इज नो नीड ऑफ दिस, दैट द ट्रांसमिशन सिग्नल्स को जो सेंड होता है उसका जो डिफरेंट बीट है उसकी जरूरत नहीं होती है। द ट्रांसमिशन कैन कमिंस एज सून एज the data byte to the transmitted become available. So here the transmission can commence. Commence means what? That in the asynchronous transmission it has some point that this is the gap and that start and stop bit. With the help of these, it can know whatever the data is, that is from where the data start and from where the data stop. This mode of transmission is easy to implement. Why this mode is easy to implement? Because whatever the data you send, with the help of that data you attach the start bit and stop bit and some gap. So with the help of these three things, it is the easy to implement. It is an effective scheme. Why this is the effective scheme? Because there is no need of the master clock. It is cheaper scheme in terms of money. Now we discuss the disadvantages of the asynchronous transmission. Additional beats called start and stop beat are required to be used. This is the disadvantages because हम लोगों ने इसके पहले भी डिस्कस किया है कि whenever you are sending data with the synchronized transmission, there is the speed in synchronized transmission. But here the speed is less. Why the speed is less? Because we can add here start and stop beat. The timing error may take place because it is difficult to determine synchronicity. So synchronicity इसमें determine करने के लिए the timing error occur हो सकता है. Yes, whenever the data is sent, so whatever the data is sent from source to destination, that is received properly or not. So that is some difficulties that comes under this asynchronous transmission. It has slower transmission rate. We already know why this is the slower, because in this asynchronous transmission we have used the start and stop bit and gaps. So that's why this is the slowest transmission rate. So this is all about the data transmission. Means the data transmission means we already discussed that data transmission and the transmission mode. So this is all about the transmission mode. We already discussed types of the transmission mode and their advantages and disadvantages. So hope so आप लोगों को ये वीडियो पसंद आया होगा, और अगर आपको अगर कुछ प्रॉब्लम है इसमें तो आप उससे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. ओके, बाय बाय.